welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some of the biggest mistakes that I've made becoming a full-time artist. When I first became a full-time artist, it wasn't something that I had necessarily planned. I wasn't like, on this date I'm going to do it, I'm going to quit my job, have no security and try to make this thing work. It didn't happen. But it was all based off of timing and opportunity. So I had just quit my job and I really loved creating and painting, and I was like, all right, if there's ever a time that I'm gonna give this a shot, now would be that time. Otherwise, I knew I was just gonna get into another corporate job, and I don't know if I ever really would have jumped on the opportunity otherwise. So I did it. I tried figuring it out along the way, and it was crazy. I haven't regretted it since, but that's not to say that there were a lot of struggles that I went through trying to figure out how to make an art business run. So I'm going to share some of those with you guys today. So hopefully if you're considering becoming a full-time artist, or maybe you are already a full-time artist, you can relate or learn from my mistakes. Number one, I put too much emphasis on the likes I got on social media. I'm just gonna say it. When you're starting out your art page on social media, no one gives an F. Don't expect them to. I would be posting stuff on social media, and whatever would get the most likes, I'd be like, oh, that is where my self-worth is. It's not true. It's just not how it works. And because I had that mentality of my success being tied, this like false illusion of my success being tied to what other people thought, it actually hindered me from being open to exploring different techniques or being open to just like figuring out my own path. I was constantly trying to be like, okay, well, this is what people want to see, so isn't this what I should be doing? Meanwhile, I started doing things that I didn't even like. Eventually, I started creating things that would get more likes on social media, but then I started to become really unhappy with the types of commissions that I was getting. I started becoming really unhappy painting. I was like, oh, like this just feels like a job I created for myself. And that's when I had to take a long look in the mirror and be like, okay, like you drifted a little too far from what you originally set out on this path to do, which is figure out my own style, figure out what I wanted to be painting, what voice I wanted to put into my work. And I had to reset. Once I did that, that's where things really took off. I was able to hone in, find a style that I really liked. I focused on urban inspired artwork, canvas paintings, large scale paintings, things like that. And when I finally just like removed myself from social media and what was going on there and how people felt about it, and I was just consistent with what path I wanted to follow, that's really when I started to get some traction. So it's funny how that works, But yes, I would say going back, I definitely would have not cared about the feedback that I got on social media. Still post on social media like it's art. You can't just create something new every few hours. Like it takes a long time to make. So you still want to be sharing on social media. Otherwise you won't have a catalog that people could look through, and it'll take a lot longer for you to have enough content for people to become loyal to. So I would still post on social media, but I wish I gained the skill of not caring what other people thought earlier on. Number two, I waited for customers to come to me. I first gained the confidence to start thinking about pursuing art when I would post on social media and people would say, hey, I love that painting, can I buy it? And I would sell something for like $50. I was like, I could do this. Meanwhile, when I actually quit my job and I was trying to make a living off of it, I was like, oh, shoot. Like, I can't just bank on people finding me on Instagram randomly and like collecting a bunch of $50 payments to afford living in Austin, Texas. It's just not gonna happen. So one of the things that I really had to do was go out there and create my own opportunity. In the corporate world, when I was in the corporate world, I was under the impression that to get a promotion, to move forward, to be a good corporate soldier, you had to wait for promotions to come to you. If you just do a good job, we'll promote you when it's ready, right? But when you're actually starting to run your own business or be a full-time artist, if you wait for people to come to you to give you money, you're gonna fail. And I learned that when I was like, okay, like I can't just getting lucky off of people hitting you up on Instagram wanting to buy your stuff. That's just based off of luck. It's not a strategy. One of the first mural jobs that I got happened from me walking around the area, seeing construction happening, going up, talking to the person who was there, who ended up being the owner of the establishment. And then we got to talking, messaging. I sent him over designs that I had for the space. And he was like, yeah, we actually need an extra wall that needs a mural. That's how I got my first job. So I think like that's how I got a mural job. And so I think that was a mentality that I inherited when things were tough, when I was like, oh, like I'm not making any money. I should probably put myself out there somehow. Like I need to go get it. And so I had a little bit of a fire underneath me to like push me out and be like, okay, like you need to get some stuff in if it's not coming to you. But that being said, it's actually one of the most proactive things that I do in my business right now to set myself up for the future. If I'm doing good this month, that's great, but I don't want to ever have that feeling again where I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know how I'm going to pay for rent in 2 months, right? So I'm constantly being proactive, and I welcomed in that approach of like, always, no matter who's reaching out to me to get artwork, I'm always trying to look at my goals and being like, okay, what can I do today to help me set up for where I want to be in 3 to 6 months? And no one's going to lay that path out for me. No one, in my mind, no one's going to come to me and just be like, we want you to like take on this awesome opportunity that you've never done before. Like for those things, I got to be proactive and find ways to set myself up to get those jobs in the future. And it's definitely something that I learned from struggling in the beginning, and I wish I inherited sooner. Number 3, I waited to network within my community. You know, I think this is two-pronged. I think number 1, I didn't do it because I was just trying to get my bearings and figure out what I was doing, quitting my job and trying to be a full-time artist. But the second thing is I felt really insecure, and I didn't feel confident going to these artist events where other artists were vending, live painting, showcasing their work, and I was intimidated, right? I was nervous. But becoming part of the community ended up being a really, really beautiful thing. I'm coming from the corporate world, and all my friends are doing what I used to do. So to keep that connection with them, a lot of that is based off of the shared experiences and memories that you have from your past. But me being the outlier and like trying to pursue art full time, it could feel alone. I felt at times that I was like, okay, like I'm going from a corporate world where there's so many employees I see all the time who are going through the same things that I'm going through, to doing this art thing, and like I don't have anyone to talk to. So networking and being able to get to know these artists in the area was so inspirational to me. And you find a community of people who have probably gone through a lot of the things that you are going through right now. Or finding people in my area who are artists, who are making a living off of it, who have gone through their own form of struggles. I found that there was a community that I could feel a part of, and who have had a lot of the shared experiences that I have. From that also came really amazing opportunities. People are rooting for you, they're supporting you, and that's where I have had the opportunity to put up my artwork in businesses, or to get paid to do live painting events, or to get pieces bought or commissioned. It's just something that I really wish I would have done sooner, because it really wasn't scary at all. If anything, it was the opposite, and it ended up being because in fact it ended up being the opposite, and it was one of the most warm things that I did for the business and for myself. Number 4, I waited too long to be comfortable enough to post pictures with me in them and also make videos. Now, when I first started getting into this thing, I don't know, I felt really ashamed, like in my old jobs, plural, in the old just corporate world, like the way that you present yourself is supposed to be professional at all times. Like you're not supposed to post pictures of you like drinking or like wearing something too revealing, or I don't know, I just felt like really weird. I felt like insecure and just like, or I felt just like really weird. I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm posting next to a canvas and everyone's like trying to figure out what I'm doing, and I was just like, oh, this is the worst, and it's so cringy and I'm so uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, 90% of my business comes from social media, and people being in their content and videos especially, they're just not going anywhere. It's just not going anywhere. So it did take me a while, but if I didn't pass that hump so late, I just feel like it would have been better for me sooner. Yeah, I don't know. I still think back to those times. I was like, oh my God, like this is the worst. I think some of the things that I could have done to try to streamline the process would have been, okay, like posting more pictures with me like working on the painting, like posting more pictures of like me working on the painting, so I didn't feel so awkward, like posy right next to it, like this is what I painted, or just like with videos, maybe something I could have done was just like get used to the idea of always having my phone record me painting. And I didn't need to post if I didn't want to, but at least I would have that content so that even in the future, if I was ready to start like posting more material that I was in, I could just go and do that. It is uncomfortable, it's cringy. If you're watching this and you're like, oh, I just hate it, trust me, there's parts of me that really hate it too, but I like having my stuff, my business be successful more than I hate me being in a picture or like making a video about it. It's kind of cool. Like I grew to love it somehow. Like I grew to watch a bunch of YouTube videos about like how to edit pictures, or like, I don't know, I feel like I got more into videography and photography because of that, instead of just like thinking of it as a task. Like I really hated it before, guys. Like I'm not lying, I really did. But that was something where like, again, it's not going anywhere. It's extremely vital for my business, so I just needed to get over it. Like there's no other option. So it's either I take on this task in a way where I hate it every time, or I take on this task where I could look at it from a new perspective and try to trick myself into getting excited about these things, which I did from watching YouTube videos, and I started to gain a really deep appreciation for photography and videography, and that helped me feel that when I was going through these photo shoots of like photographing myself next to my art or making these videos, I felt like I was actually just gaining a new skill because I was playing around with the settings on my phone, or I was like mindful of the lighting at the time. It ended up being like kind of cool. That's a trick that I played on myself, but it worked. And now I just like set up a full photo shoot day. That's where I get my content for a week or two, and it doesn't take up so much time throughout the week. And yeah, I really love it. I save my photo shoot days for Fridays. I get to like be in pajama bottoms the whole time, which I'm in right now. I have sweatpants right now. But it's a fun thing. It's fun to like play around with it, and yeah. I wish I did sooner though. I was really awkward. I mean, honestly, I still kind of am sometimes, but it's, you feel me. It's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. So let's just jump on board and do this thing together. Number 5. I didn't put enough of an emphasis on finding my own style. Now, I wouldn't necessarily categorize this as a mistake because you can't force your style. You can't force the voice that you want to bring onto a canvas. That's something that I believe is ever changing. But thinking back, I really didn't even know to put effort into trying to figure out what my voice was. I was only following my emotions at the time, and I was like, ooh, I want to paint this. Ooh, I want to paint that. And there was no strong collection that I was creating in the meantime. So after I looked back after 6 months, I was like, I don't even really have anything that I'm proud to show, or I can't even show someone a collection of my work and have it make sense. It's just, I don't know, it's weird. But I just feel that if you don't have a style or a voice in your artwork yet, there are other ways to have a style or a voice in the content that you put out there. Playing around with like filters, understanding what makes a good Instagram feed. If you're not going to have a specific type of artwork that you're consistently doing, like let's say portraiture, then maybe you can have another consistent theme so that people can still familiarize themselves with what you represent. And you could create a brand around yourself instead of creating a brand around your style of work. It's a skill that I think is so necessary. It really, really defines the difference between an amateur and a professional. And so if I just put more of an emphasis on that and focused on like long-term strategies with my social media, I really think I would have been setting myself up for quicker success. And there you have it. The 5 mistakes that I've made being a full-time artist. You guys, if you are thinking about pursuing art full-time, or if you just made the jump, or if you've been doing it for a few years, I really feel like we're all in this thing together. No one knows the right way to do things, and I don't think that there is a right way to do things. Everyone's gonna be a little bit different, and the coolest part and the hardest part about what we're doing, it's a business that's revolved around the expression and the voice that you have. So if any of this was helpful for you, then that's a big win for me, because there were a lot of times that I was just like, what the F am I doing? Like, am I crazy? Am I like just so stupid for doing this? And I don't think it was. Even though I've had hard times with art, I've never regretted the decision that I made to do it full time. And I don't think I would have been able to do it without seeing other artists who shared their experiences, more specifically, their struggles that they went through. So I hope that this was helpful. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on social media, which I'll link down below. And I will see you guys next time.